Coming up on the Tiger Football Report, we'll take a detailed look back at the Tigers' big fourth-quarter comeback as they defeated the Delaware Blue Hens 24-17 in dramatic fashion. Later, we'll talk with Coach Rob Ambrose about how the Tigers will handle their much-needed bye week. Stick around. The Tiger Football Report starts now. Hello, Tiger fans, and welcome back to another edition of the Tiger Football Report. I'm the voice of the Tigers, Spiro Marikas. Heading into Saturday's matchup, the Tigers needed a win to snap a recent three-game losing skid and also pick up an all-important CAA victory. To me, it was always a little bit sweeter when it comes at the expense of Delaware, but I know the man sitting next to me doesn't care who the win comes against. A win is a win. However, it was a win that did not come easy for the Tigers as they trailed most of the game. And then in the fourth quarter, the Tigers got a 17-yard rush from Darius Victor that gave them their only lead of the ball game. After a great defensive stand, the Tigers escaped Delaware Stadium with a win and now sit at 3-5 overall and 1-2 in the CAA. With that said, let's now bring in the head coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose. And Coach, you know, the first thing that you've got to say about this team is you guys could have just hung your head and packed it up after the game against James Madison. But I know talking to you last week and before the game, you were really confident about how your team was going to respond to that bad loss.
Yeah, adversity happens, and it's how you handle it that pretty much determines what kind of man you become, what person you become. And we model that, we discuss that, we talk that, we preach that constantly, that you're going to get knocked down, and you're going to get back up. And if you know you're going to get back up, your attitude changes about what you do after that. And the kids were excited to practice all week. Good to put the helmet back on, good to play somebody else, good to get that bad taste from the previous week out of their mouth. And that's why it's football. That's why you're playing week to week.
You take on a Delaware team that had defeated Elon the week before. They had beaten James Madison in overtime a couple of weeks prior to that. They were undefeated in the CAA. So their visions were, hey, we're in this race to try to win the CAA championship. You guys desperate for a win. And I heard Joe Torre this week talk about how somebody was mentioning the stats of the World Series and the Royals bullpen or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he goes, you got to remember, this game is played by human beings. It's not played by stats. And that struck me that's what happened on Saturday. You could have taken the stats and just thrown them out. It was two teams out there playing and playing hard, and your guys came out on the right end of the stick.
That is the greatness of the game of football. That it doesn't matter what the stats say. You still have to play the game. And there is, as far as I can tell, no quantification or evaluator for the human heart and the definition of their desire. So watching our kids kind of rally the troops, the guys that were left, next man up, last man standing kind of thing. And we threw some stuff at them now, offensively, defensively, and special teams. We changed some things up, tweaked some things, made them think, made them work. And the more we challenged them, the higher they rose. And you saw how it turned out on Saturday. We'll
get into individual players in the next segment, but you look at your offense, and it was able to move the ball much better than it had been able to against Madison and also Stony Brook. What was the difference in last week as opposed to the prior 2 weeks?
Well, the biggest one, and this will be a statistic, but it's one that stands out greatly, is that we didn't turn the ball over on offense. And more particularly, Connor didn't turn the ball over. And we went through a 3-week period where Connor turned the ball over in the red zone. Well, this time when we drove down there, we didn't turn the ball over. We got points out of it. And that's pretty much the difference between winning and losing ball games. It's hard to drive. It's hard to drive the length of the field, especially with young kids. And it's hard to score points, and it's hard to win football games. But when you're constantly giving your opposing team more opportunities by giving them the ball, you're really putting yourself behind the 8 ball. And we were much more disciplined in everything we did, and the kids rose up. They made plays.
To me, it wasn't just a victory. It was a complete team victory. I mean, your offense played great when it had to in the fourth quarter. Your defense played great throughout the entire game, and your special teams were very good. Those are the kind of wins that I guess coaches appreciate more than ever, don't you?
You do. There's some. I've been associated with some really great wins, and a lot of them, here, not just as a head coach, but as an assistant, and some amazing, memorable, world-class wins. But as a coach, it's the wins where you probably weren't supposed to win. You know, your kids are beat up, they're tired, you know, everything's against them, and they still find a way to rally. And that's the specialness of the game. I need to say it over and over again, but where in life do you ever get chances to do that? And to see them grow through this, to win through it, not just get through, but to win through, to play somebody else's homecoming again. I don't know why they schedule us for homecoming anymore. I just don't know why anybody does that. To see these guys face adversity, get knocked down, get back up, and succeed. As a coach, you got to be proud that for the rest of their life, these guys got that in their back pocket. It's not a win. That's not what they're going to remember. They're going to remember the tough times that they had to grind through together to come out on the positive end, and that's a lesson that'll last for a lifetime.
You look at this team, and you have been decimated at certain positions by injury along the offensive line. Fullback, nobody knows who you're playing at fullback anymore. And now you're starting to get some injuries. Tunji Coker on the defensive line was out. You know, Kelly Lee at corner out. So you're starting to get some injuries on the defensive side. What do you think it was that brought this team together?
Well, I think that you know, there are times when you can hide from your responsibilities and hide from your accountability. But a game like James Madison doesn't allow anybody to hide. Kind of pulls the wool off, takes the blinders off, and you're faced to make a decision. And you kind of backed into a corner. You can either lay there or you can come out swinging. And, you know, Delaware did what Delaware does a lot. They took the opening drive, went right down the field and scored. And then we just did what we haven't done a lot, but what we used to do all the time, which was take it and walk it right back down the field and stick it out. And all of a sudden people, and a different mentality. There was a different mentality in defense and special teams when you saw the offense do things. You know, I'll never forget Andre dropped a big, deep ball right in his hands. Guy made a good play on it, but we were inches away from probably, at that time, would have been the longest pass play of the year. And when we turned it over and there was a TV timeout, I got in on defensive huddle. I said, look, that's how close we are. We're that far away. Don't you dare. And you could see the look in their eyes like, no way, coach, we're gone. And from what I got out of it, from the people I heard, especially from the people from Delaware, our kids played just flat out really, really physical. And I could not be more proud.
And up in the booth, we were all looking at each other when Delaware took the ball and went straight down the field to make it 7-0, and we're all thinking, uh-oh, coming off that loss against Madison.
No.
But no, I mean, your offense responded, and it may have been the best drive of the year.
I was probably one of the more critical ones for the year itself and for our success. But I think you said it the best, man. Beating Delaware is a hard thing to do, especially beating them there. And for these seniors who are fifth-year guys to do it twice, and these fifth-year guys are the ones that bought in when we were 1-10. God love them. I mean, what a great way that last shot at Delaware. That's pretty cool.
It's always great to get that win up in Newark. We have come upon our first break, but we still have a lot of show left, including a look back at some of the Tigers' standout performers that helped them earn their first conference win. Later in the show, we'll see how Coach Ambrose and his team plan to handle this upcoming bye week. Stick around. The Tiger Football Report will be right back.
Virtual Wallet can help you be that person who's good with money. See what's free to spend, move money with a slide, save with a shake. Feel good about your decisions.
Brian Vickers, Aaron's sponsored driver. He doesn't just love racing, he lives it.
We got the paper! Woo!
His pit crew follows him everywhere. Oddly, so does his boss.
Right, sign that. Yeah!
And his passion for racing is rivaled only by his passion for errands.
No credit needed. I'll take it.
Woo! Congrats.
Aaron's makes owning easy through lease ownership, so you can own the life you want.
You'll find it on the sidewalks of Little Italy and on the porches in Catonsville. You can see it when friends meet in Mount Vernon. It's pride. Pride in our city, pride in our people. That's why MedStar Health is building the most accessible healthcare system in the region to look after everyone from Lutherville to Locust Point. So no matter where you go, no matter who you are, you're never far from MedStar.
White Market's ice cream plant is based in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, and it's locally owned and operated. We've been making our ice cream for nearly 50 years. We create roughly 70 flavors of ice cream right now. We use local ingredients, especially our cream, which is from our milk plant. The cream is what gives our ice cream a rich and creamy texture. Now, together with our customers, we've created a product called Peanut Butter Indulgence, which will be coming out this summer. It's a peanut butter ice cream with sea salt caramel swirl, chocolate-covered pretzel. How could you go wrong with that? Personally, I love our ice cream. If you come to our house at any given time, you'll find at least 5 packages of ice cream in our freezer. Our kids grew up eating Wise quality ice cream, and now we get to treat our grandchildren to it. It's been a pleasure for me to be tasting ice cream for over 40 years for Wise Markets, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Welcome back to the Tiger Football Report. I'm your host, Spiro Maurikas, joined by the head coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose. And, Coach, I want to give credit where credit is due. We've been a little critical this season of quarterback Connor Frazier, but Connor came to play against the Blue Hens. He went 19 for 32 with 181 yards, 2 touchdowns, and as you mentioned, most importantly, no interceptions. What was it about Connor in this game as opposed to Connor in the previous 3 or 4?
You know, this is going to be funny, but you're not going to get this unless you watch the film and you understand the kids. He's been getting better. And in the James Madison game, he played pretty darn well. I mean, he did some dumb things, but there were things that he did in that game that he had not been doing. And to me, he took steps. And in those taking the steps, he just, you know, it's blatant, he didn't turn the ball over. That's a huge one. And as it always goes, the quarterback and the head coach, too much credit, too much criticism, it doesn't really matter. That's part of the job. So you just take away those. If you took away his red zone turnovers, the appreciation and understanding and of Connor's abilities would be a lot greater around here. But you can't take those away. They happened. And he had 2 choices. He could grow or he could fold. And he's been growing all the time. He made really, really good decisions. Didn't play outside himself. Took sacks when it was necessary to take a sack. But when he did, he covered it up with, much, much better performance.
From a psychological standpoint, how much do you think this helps him for the final stretch run here in the season?
This is where I got to give him a lot of credit. I don't think this matters one way or the other. Connor's a ball player, and he is a quarterback. And I said that quarterback is not a position you play; it's a way of being. Like, I'm 40-something years old. I'm still a quarterback. That's just, I may not have been a good one as a player, but I'm still a quarterback. And in that, you grind through the tough times, and you don't doubt. There is no such thing. You don't doubt yourself. You just keep on going, keep on working at your craft, and it's in the continual working to be perfect, knowing that you're never going to be perfect, that you garner the respect of your teammates, your coaches, and the fans. And in that hard work comes great results, and it keeps getting better and better as we go.
What else is even better is that you look back at the history of this rivalry, and Towson quarterbacks have had a great time up there in Delaware. Dan Crowley in '93, Sean Schaefer in '06, and now Connor Frazier in 14, to go back to 2012, and Grant Enders. I mean, we've had some great quarterback performances up in Newark.
Yes, we have, and that's tremendous. The fact that we've been up, for my tenure to be able to go up there 2 years in a row, to Delaware and win. Their homecomings both times. And if I can say anything, the Towson-Delaware football game has become a great game to watch. It's going to come down to the wire. It's going to come down to the end. You're going to get 4 quarters of football and high entertainment value for your dollar. My statement is that it's about time we hold one at home. We pack the house at home, and we beat them at home. So on the goal sheet for next year.
That'll be next year. Spencer Wilkins had a great day for the Tigers, and when the game was 17-10, he makes a catch at the 30-yard line, breaks through 3 Blue Hens, and scampers home. And on Twitter this week, there was a great picture of Spencer just as he was breaking the tackle. You could see his face like, man, there's nothing but green turf in front of me. It had to be a great feeling for him.
I tell you, if anybody was due, it was him. And he, and I'm going to throw some other seniors in there too. To watch how these seniors responded post-JMU, to see how they guided their team through the week for Delaware, and to see how they rose up. And it's like Spencer's hurting. He's a 5th-year senior whose body's been through the ringer. Drew Tripko is hurting. I mean, he's a rag as it is, and these guys are playing their heart and soul out. And we were talking about getting the first down on the completion, schematically. And we had talked all week, and I said, the way they play this defense, they're so wide. I said, if anything, we make a guy miss, just one guy in the middle of the field, it's a touchdown. It doesn't matter the distance. Spencer made 3 guys
That's right.
He'd thank Jeremy Pick, the strength conditioning coach, for the 10-pound weakling he was when we got him versus the young man he is today. That's a guy who was stronger than the defensive backs. I don't want to say broke tackles, willed his way through it. And then once he was clear, nobody was catching him.
Then you mentioned on the defensive side, Drew Cheripko, he had a sack. Ryan Dallaire, again, 2 sacks, continues to lead the CAA. I mean, your defensive line just played tremendous. And then you throw in James Sims, the freshman linebacker, when CAA Rookie of the Week. He had an interception with an assist from Ty Smith. I mean, it was just a team effort.
I mean, there's so many just momentum plays. You know, that Michael Johnson's one of the best wideouts in the country, and Ty Smith held him to like 50 yards. And no big plays. No big plays at all. Christian Carpenter playing, basically got his pinky ripped off in the first half. Showed it back on, taped it back up, and had an interception one-handed with that thing on. I mentioned Drew, Ryan Dallaire, and these guys were making plays just at the right time. That third downs, fourth downs, pressure situations, long downs, tackles for losses. I don't even know how many. We might have had more than 10. And I mean, it's no secret. Delaware's a good football team.
4 quarterback sacks.
Yep, Delaware's a good football team. And then you watch Donnell Lewis catch a punt, make about 17 guys miss. Right. Momentum changer. Like I said, I could not be more proud.
Another guy we haven't mentioned on the show, and he's a name that we're mentioning more and more. That's Eric Handy, another one of your young linebackers.
Mm-hmm. Eric's a very talented, extremely intelligent guy who, he's not on scholarship yet, and spent the summer at home. Now, we knew that he could probably play his way into being a guy, and of course we got a little bit beat up at linebacker along the way. And he's played himself into great shape right now. And because he's in great shape, he's all over the field. And he's a very, very he's a really smart young man. So he stays on track and doesn't have to play his way into shape. He takes where he is now, builds it as a foundation, lays it a foundation, and builds from it. He's going to be a very, very good linebacker.
Darius Victor had the winning touchdown run for the Tigers, a 17-yarder, which, I don't want to take anything away from Darius, but I may have been able to gain 3 or 4 yards on that play. The hole was so big. You've got to give this offensive line credit. They protected Connor for the most part on Saturday. And I mean, you're throwing guys together that probably didn't even know each other's names.
Well, they got some NFL guys on that defense at Delaware. There's no question. They got some NFL pass rushers, and our guys gave way a little bit, and we schemed pretty well to protect ourselves. But on the last play, I can't say this very much this season. We blocked that play exactly as it was drawn up. So, and yes, the guy that was playing fullback was, a backup defensive lineman who was on the scout team all week on defense. And we put him in for 2 plays on offense and just asked him to do one thing, and he did it very, very well.
Coming up on the other side of this break, we will find out how the Tigers are going to take their week off. But before we go, let's take a look at this week's Tiger Tidbit presented by Under Armour. Did you know the last 2 times the Tigers have played in Delaware Stadium, they have spoiled the Blue Hens' homecoming with late-game comebacks in 2012 and 2014.
You know how fast you were going?
Yeah, about 55.
Where are you headed at such an appropriate speed?
Across the country to enhance the nation's most reliable 4G LTE network. How's it working for you?
Better than ever. How'd you do it?
Added cell sites, increased capacity.
And your point is?
So you can download music, games, and directions for the road when you need them.
Who's this guy?
Oh, that's Charlie.
You ever put pepper spray on your burrito? I like it spicy, but not like, ooh, spicy.
You always like this?
You have no idea.
AT&T, the nation's most reliable 4G LTE network.
Mariner Finance is a consumer finance company, so we offer personal loans.
Mariner Finance is a great place to work. It's a great thing for anyone with the entrepreneur spirit.
Everybody in every office has an opportunity to achieve and grow.
Be your own leader. Be a leader amongst the fellow coworkers in your office.
The training and development that we do at Mariner Finance is one-on-one. Someone who has been there, done it, experienced it.
There is no better feeling.
Learn with us.
Grow with us.
Run with us.
Brian Vickers, Aaron's sponsored driver. He doesn't just love racing, he lives it.
We got the paper! Woo!
His pit crew follows him everywhere. Oddly, so does his boss.
Red, sign that! Yeah!
And his passion for racing is rivaled only by his passion for errands.
No credit needed. I'll take it.
Woo! Congrats.
Aaron's makes owning easy through lease ownership, so you can own the life you want.
This is where the legends live, waiting for someone with better innovation. From the brand that reinvented the t-shirt comes the Under Armour Speedform Apollo. This is our rocket ship.
Welcome back to the Tiger Football Report. I'm your host, Spiro Maurikas, alongside the head coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose. And Coach, for the first time this season, you know that you won't be taking the field on Saturday because it is your bye week. For the players, they get a much-needed break to try to rest their bodies before finishing up the rest of the season. For the coaches, it's a chance to hit the road and recruit, as well as give you an extra week to prepare for Elon. For you personally, how are you spending this bye week?
Well, we got practice a couple days during the week, and always have some early morning re-education instances for discretions against team rules or university policies. But on the whole, we're spending a lot of time in the training room, and the guys that don't get to play on Saturday, the young guys who are rotating, they're getting a lot of scrimmage time and getting a chance to see what they can do and how much the offense they've retained now that it's not on a card. Most of the staff is on the road recruiting. We got a skeleton staff that's here. And even I'll be out on Friday night watching high school football games. And then Saturday I'm going to have a chance to watch my son play football. And
there you go.
That's pretty rare.
I know your coaches are out there because Coach Konstantinos Kuzmakos, the defensive line coach, keeps twittering pictures of mountains from various parts of the country. So your coaches are on the road. When you practice this week, leading up to the bye, do you look at all at Elon, or do you wait and just make it a normal week next week where you will take your opponent from there, or do you start now?
Coaches are taking some time looking at Elon's basic stuff, situational stuff. Third down, short yardage, goal line, and we might institute some of our game plan into that by tomorrow's practice. But we're getting ahead. There's no question. When we start Sunday, everybody says you have an advantage when you are the team with the bye. You have disadvantage when you do the team not with the bye, just for planning alone. Coaches get bored. We want to watch film and figure out who to beat. We don't have anybody to scheme against. We don't have anything to coach. What are we going to do? So no, we're planning.
Your son Riley's football game is over on Saturday. Will you then sit down and watch some CAA football live on television?
I will pretty much watch a whole bunch of football, be it CAA or SEC or ACC or whatever good game is out there to watch. At this one time in the year where I get to take a couple hours and not really worry about us. And good to know that my staff are with their families and their kids, and the kids are probably going home for a rare weekend when they can get home. So everything's pretty much taken care of, and I can spend time with my family.
Can you watch a football game as a fan, or do you have to dissect it like you're dissecting your next opponent?
It's really hard. It really is. It's just a natural instinct. Somebody said that Bobby Fischer would go just glance at a chessboard and he would predict the game. I can sit there and watch formation and coverage and down and distance and field position and pretty much call plays that are you can just tell. It's annoying. My wife hates it. It's like my son who wants to talk during a movie, or the person that regurgitates the lines of the movie before they happen. I'm a really bad person to watch football with.
Your coaches, you mentioned that they need some time off too. And tell folks, how long have they been going since they had a day off?
Oh, goodness. Somewhere in the middle of July. 7 days a week since the middle of July.
And I don't think people realize that assistant coaches and the head coach, you guys don't take days off. Okay, you had a game on Saturday, so I guess you're off on Sunday. No.
No, this is not your normal 9 to 5er. The best line I ever heard was that my wife was at a party with somebody, and this woman was complaining that my husband works 80 hours a week. And my wife said, I wish my husband worked 80 hours a week. And this woman looked at my wife and said, you don't like your husband very much? She said, no, if he worked 80 hours a week, I might see him a little more. That's just the nature of the beast. And it's not complaining. I've never gone to work a day in my life. You get a chance to spend time with these kids every day. No, that's what keeps you going. And it's great that our families get to be a part of it. If you've ever been to the field house, it's like daddy daycare. There's kids running around all the time. And that's the way it should be. Our kids get to see the fruits of our labors. They get to watch and interact with these kids as they grow up. And if that's not the coolest thing ever, how many kids, husbands or kids, fathers or mothers go to work and they have a job, and they just know that they have a job and pay the bills, and they never get to see it or be a part of it. Our kids get to see why we work so hard, and they get to be a part of that. And it's one of those things that ties the family concept in deeper.
And I think people would be shocked if they came to one of your practices and saw how many kids were there from the coaching kids of the coaches. It is amazing. I've never seen anything like it before, and that's something that you've created, and you should be commended for it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've seen a lot of different ways for it to be done, and I think that there's an aspect to the youth, our kids, our student athletes, where they've missed out in maybe a dual parent home or any parent home, or consistency in child rearing. And I heard my kids, I said, God, he's hard on his kids too. Like, yeah, I am. I treat them all like my kids, and I want them to be the best versions of themselves, and I want them to learn how to fail and come back. I want all the lessons that football can teach you. So I don't ever complain about the hours, ever.
Do you have a say in when your bye week shows up, or is it just, it depends on the conference schedule and that's it?
There's a generalized scheduling concept where you try to play your out-of-conference games at the very front end of the season, so you can play as many conference games in a row and keep that continuity. Once you present them your out-of-conference schedule, then they present you a schedule. It's not like we have any choice in this. So, I mean, I do recall there was a year where the bye week was at the front end or whatever. The bye week was at the last game. I mean, just so you were playing, 11, 12 games in a row, which is crazy. And every now and then the bye week fits. Last year the bye week fit. That really helped us out. I couldn't say that a couple years prior. And this year, I don't know if it fits or not, but we sure as heck need it.
Yeah, your bye week, I remember your second year, you played your first game, then you had a bye week, and then played Coastal Carolina in a 5 overtime game. But yeah, that was kind of weird to play one game and then have a week off.
That is, and I don't really understand the computer model, how that happens. I'm an English major guy. Somebody gets paid a lot of money to figure that out.
All right. Well, the Tigers will have a much-deserved week off. We have to take our final break, but we will be back with more of the Tiger Football Report right after this.
Virtual Wallet can help you be that person who's good with money. See what's free to spend, move money with a slide, save with a shake. Feel good about your decisions.
You'll find it on the sidewalks of Little Italy and on the porches in Catonsville. You can see it when friends meet in Mount Vernon. It's pride. Pride in our city, pride in our people. That's why MedStar Health is building the most accessible healthcare system in the region to look after everyone from Lutherville to Locust Point. So no matter where you go, no matter who you are, you're never far from MedStar.
Wise Markets Ice Cream Plant is based in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, and it's locally owned and operated. We've been making our ice cream for nearly 50 years. We create roughly 70 flavors of ice cream right now. We use local ingredients, especially our cream, which is from our milk plant. The cream is what gives our ice cream a rich and creamy texture. Now, together with our customers, we've created a product called Peanut Butter Indulgence, which will be coming out this summer. It's a peanut butter ice cream with sea salt caramel swirl and chocolate-covered pretzel. How could you go wrong with that? Personally, I love our ice cream. If you come to our house at any given time, you'll find at least 5 packages of ice cream in our freezer. Our kids grew up eating Wise quality ice cream, and now we get to treat our grandchildren to it. It's been a pleasure for me to be tasting ice cream for over 40 years for Wise Markets, and I'm loving every minute of it.
This is where the legends live, waiting for someone with better innovation. From the brand that reinvented the t-shirt comes the Under Armour Speedform Apollo. This is our rocket ship.
Welcome back to the Tiger Football Report. Coach, thanks for joining us, and enjoy the bye and your Saturday relaxing, watching Pee Wee football, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Let's go Towson Spartans.
As we have mentioned, no game for the Tigers this week, but they will return to the field on Saturday, November 1st, when they will host Elon for homecoming. Plenty of time to get your tickets and pack the U for what is bound to be a fun homecoming. You can get your tickets right here on TowsonTigers.com or by calling 1-855-TU-TIGER. That's going to do it for this episode of the Tiger Football Report. Once again, I'm Spiro Maurikas. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk again next week.